abundance is not in currency. Abundance is the emotion. And abundance is having enough and orchestrating your life so that it's enough. I said you do not create a new client to make a sale. You make a sale to create a new client. Ooh, what does that mean? That's exactly right. Because you see, if we said like the business part of it, what business are you in? It's about students, clients, right? Even like selling DVDs and doing whatever it is. It's about creating a student or a client that's into what you're doing. And so then there's the front end, which is like the intro, and then there's the back end, what really happens. And what happens on the front end and what happens on the back end are very different. I mean, it has to be. It's very different. The front end is an intro to it. Like a lot of you, at some point, there was some introduction that you had to this. Maybe it was online, maybe it was in person, something like that. And we explain the message in a way that, okay, it's like we give you glimpses of it. And then if you maybe get some more information, maybe it was an e-sign, maybe it was a class, maybe it was coming to something. And we have a lot of funnels that we go up there. But now you start to go down the rabbit hole, you see there's a whole back end. I mean, it's the way we set up our schools, the way we set up this, and the way you want to set up, kind of conceptually, whether you have a school independent teacher, you're selling lotion, pills, potions, and lotions. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's fundamentally, it's the same type of thing. So it's not about the transaction. You want to think of that initial transaction is about starting a relationship and starting a long-term relationship is really how you do it. Because ultimately you want long-term relationships with students and with clients. It's better. I mean, you're going to have everything. You're going to have the short-term, the long-term. But the more long-term you have, it's just better. Because then you really create a community. So know that in all things, and you know this, there's an infinite amount of viewpoints, but you have to think of all this. It's from what viewpoint? Because from the viewpoint of the fourth is very different than the viewpoint of the fifth, if you're from the viewpoint of the second. It's very, to stop there is an animal level. No, there's procreation, recreation, and then there's restoration, and you use that energy for restoration, and then there's like cultivation, and then there's illumination. And so illumination is when you bring the energy up, and you bring it right here. You bring like orgastic energy. It's like Qigong on steroids. And you bring it up and right here. It comes up the fire path and then showers down. Then you're into cultivation. And was that interesting?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell your experience with your accountant?
Well, I was preparing for this boot camp. And I have all my homework done. And I was really excited. I went from this feeling of abundance to feeling like, oh my God, like I actually have no money. I did really horrible. And nothing had changed. Yeah. And it was, just the whole experience of meeting with my accountant and having his lens view it and just say this. And so then once I realized that, it took me about a day or two, and a conversation with Jason, that I realized, isn't this funny?
Well, yeah, because then the question is, how was your last year? How was your lifestyle the last year?
Well, then I said to Jason, I went on a trip to Mexico in April, then I went to Kripalu for some training in August, then I went on another yoga retreat in November.
Well, that sounds like a food stamp candidate to me.
And my
traveling around the world, these exotic yoga locales, coming to your studio every day, teaching. Oh.
And then Jason said, so isn't that interesting? Is there still food on the... I was like, there's absolutely food on the table. Yeah. It's so interesting because in my past life, I would have really, that framing that the accountant made would have made me believe success or not success, and now I have this completely different.
See, you're better off with that though. You want to be a pauper on paper and live like a king. Did you catch that? Yeah. Your accountant? That's for the government. That's for them to take their money. Fine. No, it's a little rough. It was clean.
And my lifestyle, like I'm healthier, I'm happier, I have more energy, I have more vitality, I have more joy. I mean, on any matrix that you measure it. Yeah.
See, it's a trick though. It's a trick to think that you need currency for abundance. No, you do not. Currency is the medium of the exchange. Okay? You don't need a lot of currency for abundance. But again, abundance is the emotion and knowing you have, that you have enough. Yeah. And and guess what? The universe provides. Okay? Let me ask you this. Who here has ever felt stress about money? Come on, be honest. Okay, good. Hands down. Okay. When you felt the stress about money, was it necessary? Did it help you? Okay, did you eat that day? Did you have a roof over your head that day? Okay, I mean, did you still have clothing, or were you running around naked because you didn't have clothing? Anyone? Maybe it's not because you didn't have clothing. But, okay. So abundance is now, and abundance is gratitude and enough for this moment. You have enough, and actually, fundamentally, gratitude is the foundation of abundance. Because guess what?
Yeah.
You want to be grateful for this breath you take right now. Because you only got so many left of them. I mean, we could do the math, and if you said we had, 600,000 hours, how many breaths you take in an hour, you could come up with a number of, like, if you live to 108, how many breaths you actually have. If we really wanted to micro that, that's a little crazy. But think about this. Every time you take a breath, you're one breath closer to death. Is that scary? I don't know. Doesn't matter. It doesn't. Who cares? It's life. It's God says so. So embrace that and embrace this breath. And then the more you can take each breath with gratitude, it's just be grateful for this breath that you're eating. When you eat food, be grateful for the food. If you stop and experience gratitude for the food that you're about to eat, and you just sit there and you're grateful for the tomato. A tomato is a life form. Like things have life. It doesn't have to have eyes and make sounds and go moo to be a life form. Like a cow is a life form. A tomato, like when you eat, So to be a vegetarian, it's cool for dietary stuff, but you're still consuming life because that's the way it is, whether it's a cow or a tomato. Fundamentally, it's the same thing. But if you experience gratitude for that tomato, gratitude to that cow, gratitude to that wheat, or gratitude to all the people, all the work that it took to get that food right there on the plate. There's a lot of hands involved. And if you just stop, just for a moment, experience that gratitude, a few things happen. One, the vibrational frequency of the food raises. It becomes more nutritious. It's like it's better for you than if you just shovel it in your face. Okay? And then two, you experience gratitude and you vibrate at a higher level. Because the opposite of gratitude is entitlement. You got to stay away from entitled. What are you and I entitled to? Nothing. Nothing. This breath, we're not even entitled to this breath, by the way. It's a gift. So when you can be completely grateful, be grateful every time you eat something, every time you breathe, every time you wake up in the morning. Be grateful. This is kind of funny. Most deaths happen before noon. So if you make it until noon, the likelihood that you're going to live that day is much higher. There was something in his eyes. There was something right about this man. There's something I didn't know what it was. And I looked at him and said, "Yes, I will." He goes, "Good. Get on your mat, or get on your dot." And as I was walking out of the office, he stands up and he looks at me. He goes, "Carpal tunnel? Carpal tunnel?" Ah. And he drops his pants. True story. And I saw on his leg, there was this scar that went all the way around. And he said, "I got run over by a boat. I had a propeller cut my leg off. Only held on by a piece of flesh. And he took it was a metal peg and he threw it right at me. And I caught it. And he goes, that peg was in my leg for 7 years. When I started and came in here, I was in a wheelchair. I fixed my leg. Carpal tunnel." Ah! That was my introduction to this. 30 days later, I fixed it. I thought he was trying to kill me. He made good on his promise of not having to do everything he said, because I did all these qigong, I did all the holding sets, this, and you do this. And you do all the breathing, and you do 1,000. Then you do 1,000. And he wouldn't tell you this. He'd just say count. I'm like 1, 2, and then you go through that internal thing. Okay, 99. Maybe he's going to stop at 100. 101, 102. He's ignoring me. And then you get to this point. Okay, 497. There's no way I'm going past 500. 500. 500. There's a little silence. He's ignoring me. 501, 502. And then by the time I'm shaking, I'm doing this, and then finally, you know, and then every once in a while, I'd start to drop, and I'd hear this. It was like the voice of God. I see that, you know. And as you know, I'm shaking. I'm like 1,000, and I start to drop. And like he comes up. No, no, no! In front, count 1, 2. You know, and then hold, count to 1,000, count to 1,000, count to 1,000, count to 1,000. That was my training regimen. It took like, I don't know, 3 hours, something like that. And I did that every day.
Question.